Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Amazi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. Brothers, anyone can talk the talk, but not everyone can walk the walk. And that's why here at Porn Reboot, where we do walk the walk, I'll be sharing every few episodes some snippets of success stories and testimonials from brothers who are in our implementation intensive and in our free groups. And they're going to be sharing some of the results they've been getting so that this can further inspire you to take action on all the different tips and techniques that you learn while listening to the Porn Reboot podcast. Enjoy.
What is going on, Reboot team? Chris here with yet another testimonial with somebody who's coming to us from our exclusive Reboot implementation program. I have seen this guy grow for a long time, and we've also been APs. We've been accountability partners, which is really cool. So I'm really interested to get to know his journey and introduce him to you guys. I'm here with Teddy. What is going on, good sir?
I'm good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good, Chris. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, bro. Let's crack into it. So as far as I want to know, your journey through the program so far, but really before we dive there, I'm curious, like, how did you discover the program to begin with?
Yeah. I think a couple years ago, I had seen JK's videos online on YouTube, and I had previously been in 12-step groups, and I wasn't really getting much out of them. I had been in them for several years, and I really wasn't getting the results that I had wanted to. And I had been watching JK's videos on YouTube for probably about a year or so. And eventually I was like, I graduated college, and I was like, you know what? I got to check this guy out. This guy seems legit. He knows what he's talking about. And I just pulled the plug on it. I just went for it. And it had been such a transformative decision that I made, because I really have made a lot of progress since I joined the program.
And I'm curious. I mean, we'll hear more specifics about your time in the program too. Guys will sometimes talk to me like, yeah, I kind of come from like a bit of a similar background, right? Like that sort of 12 steps thing. And this is obviously, not a knock toward that approach whatsoever, because it works. But just out of genuine curiosity, like, what has been the difference in experience between the two types of approaches?
The biggest difference was just the mentality and the mindset. Like, I didn't, once I really started listening to JK, obviously he had spoken about 12-step groups and was like, hey, like, listen, if this is the only, sort of support you can get, like, go for it. Like, I'm not against it necessarily, but obviously I liked the idea of, we're not going to be an addict forever. And even while I was in the 12-step groups, I was kind of sitting there. I was like, something that's not right. Like, I was with a bunch of other men who, and nothing against them, but I just felt like, I wasn't trying to be in their position later on in my life. And I nothing against them. They were good people, but I just felt like I didn't want to live this mentality of, oh, I'm going to be an addict forever. I'm going to be, addicted forever. And I didn't want to have to live like that, because it just didn't make any sense. I just wanted to put this behind me for good. And once I joined the program and we really used a lot more tools to kind of overcome our urges, I really felt like that was something that really helped me out a lot.
That's awesome, man. And here you are in the program, and you've been really trucking along. And I'm curious, just what's been your experience like with the Facebook community?
I really just like the accountability. Like, there's no kind of accountability like the Reboot group. And the other thing is, like, the Reboot heroes like yourself and like Arestes and all the other, coaches like like Milan and whatnot. They really do add like a sort of value to the group. And I feel like when you really commit to saying, hey, like, what, I'm going to go attend like 1 or 2 calls every single week. I'm going to post the group a certain amount of times a week. I'm going to comment on the people. I really feel like that does add to that sort of mindset, because it's not just about, oh, I'm going to, overcome this behavior. It's also about like, you want to help other people too, because I feel like that really adds to it as well. So the accountability isn't just about yourself. It's also about other people too. And I feel like that really helps kind of add to that mindset, and it really helps you to overcome this and also grow into something that, you really want to actually become and really change that self-image.
Yeah, no, I completely hear where you're coming from. And one thing that I notice is that, when it comes to gentlemen that have fallen on hard times, when it comes to, sexually compulsive behaviors, it can be a type of behavior that's very self-serving, selfish in nature, right? But when you're changing your mindset and your intentions to actually, reach out and form relationships with people, that's something that you're never going to find through porn, to actually train yourself to, exhibit a little bit of vulnerability. It's something that we don't need to do with a sexual compulsive behavior. I mean, that's why we call the system rebooting. It's becoming reacquainted with those very real, visceral, necessary parts of you. So yeah, I can relate a lot to what you're saying for sure.
Absolutely, man. And again, like I really have seen like the people in the group that really are the ones that are more active in the community are the ones that are rebooting quicker and are rebooting more effectively. Like I've seen that with certain number of brothers, and I've seen other brothers who are kind of just like, there have been brothers I've seen that aren't as active, and I feel like that does, take a toll on them in a sense. So I really do feel like the people that are really more active, not just posting about themselves, but commenting on other people are the ones that are making the most progress. So the Facebook group, definitely don't take it for granted because it really does help out a lot.
I mean, I've experienced that for myself, and I appreciate you touching on that. I totally agree. And you had mentioned the coaching calls as well. I'm curious about your experience overall with those.
My favorite coaching calls, I really like the hot seat with Orestes, and I feel like that's something that, he's really good at just kind of like picking at you and picking at your brain a little bit. And I really do like the fact that he does that because there's been not that many people in my life previously that have really picked at me like he has. So I felt like that was something that was a little uncomfortable at first, but I've been able to get vulnerable with him, and he's not afraid of picking at you, and he's not a judgmental dude or anything like that. And neither of the coaches, like Milan or anything like that, or any of the other coaches, JK, whatever, are judgmental people. They're all here to help you and succeed. So I felt like putting you on the seat a little bit with other people in the group, that kind of does add sort of aspect where it's like, okay, like, I'm going to have to be a little vulnerable now, whatever the coaching call is. Like I've seen that with other groups too. But I really feel like that vulnerability really helps you to kind of like be more aware and also kind of like sit with the feeling, which is really something that we learn in this group. It's not just about like resisting the feeling or resisting or just actually like accepting it and sitting with the feeling, kind of like, it's saying, okay, like, you know what? I'm gonna sit with this and this is gonna pass, but I want to like actually write about this and learn about it more.
I love that sense of curiosity, not about resisting the urge, but just kind of feeling it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that it's easy to resist the urge. Like when we get an urge, even if it's an urge, like an addictive urge, or even if it's just an urge, like that's like a negative thought that we get, it's easy to resist it because that's like kind of like the first thing that comes to mind. It's like, okay, like I don't want to think about this. Like, so I'm just gonna do something else that just kind of distracts me from it. Now, obviously, that's not a terrible thing necessarily, but that's not solving the problem, and that's not obviously what we teach in the program. It's like, hey, like want to sit down with this, we want to dialogue with it, we want to write out our feelings. We really want to like understand where this is coming from, and we can really kind of go back to where this originally came from. We can really understand it more and learn from it and grow from it. And I feel like that's what this program really, really does stress to us a lot more. That helps us to kind of become the person that we want to become later on in life.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's funny you say that because I remember before I joined the program, I used to try to just white knuckle things and just, try to do exactly that. Just like when I'm feeling some familiar way, I would do everything I could to just like, oh, let me do something else. Oh, let me resist. Let me distract myself, whatever. And I used to keep these notebooks, bro. Like literally it would be like day 1, day 15,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever it was. And I gotta they're somewhere. I'll find them. But like I used to just beat the crap out of myself. Just if I were to have a slip or something, and it wouldn't be productive. It wouldn't be building towards something and getting anywhere. So I've been there, and I'm curious about your overall experience, actually using tools and having a medium with which to not only move away from a unhealthy behavior, but to actually process what's going on. Like, I'd love to hear your experiences and maybe some examples of some tools that have helped you.
Right. I think, before I had joined this program, and I think like when I had initially joined, it was so accustomed to where like if I like acted out, I would just berate myself over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not good. This is not helping me like actually change the behavior, because in a sense, when you think about it, like when you just berate yourself and you beat yourself up, it's almost like your addict's mind way of kind of like taking more control over you because it wants you to break, it wants you to beat yourself up, it wants you to do this because that's how it kind of keeps you in that loop over and over and over and over again. And I think one of the big tools that really did work, I really do like the dialogue exercise. I really love dialoguing with my essence, and I did have a number of different other sub personalities that, when I really looked in my empathy or whatever other environment I put myself in, it really did help me to kind of like go back and say, what is this part of me that's what is it trying to tell me? What is it trying to ask for? What does it really want? Is it really just want me to keep me stuck in this loop, or is it trying to signal something else to me? And so when you really sit down with yourself, and you sit down with that feeling, that part of you that really is trying to communicate to you, it is like, it is when you first start doing it, it is a little uncomfortable because like you've never really like looked at this part of you before. You've never been in a group that is saying, hey, sit down with this and dialogue with this. So that was the first time that, a 12-step program never ever taught me that before. So it was definitely something new. And again, to kind of like one of the first questions you asked, like, what was the big difference between the 12-step groups and this? It's the aspect of sitting down with your feelings. Like I didn't do that in the 12-step groups. This group does stress that to me.
Wow. I think that's really, really powerful stuff. No, I really appreciate you sharing that. There's a question that I typically would ask a little bit later on calls like these, but I think it's a nice segue into it. Coming from the type of background that you're from and having experienced what you have so far, here's a hypothetical situation. Let's imagine you bump into somebody, or rather somebody confides in you, and they're just like, Teddy, like I'm struggling with an out of control behavior, right? And, just kind of on the fence as far as like what to do, how to go about things, and just kind of struggling in silence in the way that you and I, know about very well. Knowing what you know now that maybe you didn't know when you were once in this person's shoes, I mean, is there anything that you would share with that particular person?
I mean, I would certainly share this group with him. At the very least, I would, at least tell him to check out, the podcast because I know that there's a number of different testimonials on there that really do show like, hey, like, we were in this position that you were once in, and now we're out of it, and now we're in a completely different area of our life. So I think that, if you really do care about this aspect of your life, you're going to do whatever it takes to get rid of it and just put it behind you for good. That whole, again, I'm going to be an addict forever. That didn't sink in with me. That certainly didn't sink in with JK when he really first overcame this and he founded this program. And I know that people in this group that doesn't sink in with them either at all. So I don't blame them. So, I've got a life to live. I have things to accomplish. I have things to do. And, I didn't want this to be pulling me down anymore. And so I think I would tell them to do what I did, do some research, take some time and look into this a little bit. But, if you really do care about this, you're going to take action now and not, months or years later.
I think that's really, I mean, the word of the day seems to be powerful, but I want to pull on Orestes and pick at you a little bit. When you're talking about whatever it takes, it's a word that, or a phrase rather, that's commonly used. It's like, if you want something, you'll do whatever it takes. When it comes to, the rebooting process, what do you believe is included within the term whatever it takes? Like, what does it take in order to, rewire your mind?
I guess back to what I've said before, it is about putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, like whether that be sitting down with your feelings, whether that be sharing stuff that you really wouldn't normally share in the group calls, in the coaching sessions, whether that be posting to the group about something uncomfortable that you wouldn't want to share with other people. And even further than that, further necessarily beyond the group, because I really do believe that this program isn't just specifically geared towards this aspect. It is really geared towards like your life. And like, I feel like I've put myself out more socially. I've gotten more involved. And I feel like that was a little uncomfortable for me at first. But again, fear is just kind of like in your mind. It's not necessarily a real thing. It's just something that your mind is kind of, I guess, exaggerating in a sense to try and make you make it a bigger deal than really what it actually is. And I feel like I've really gotten out of my shell more since I joined this program. And, I don't even want to think about where I would have been if I didn't join this group. Actually, I probably know where I would have been if I didn't join this program. But like that being said, I really do feel like it gets you out of your comfort zone more. And that's the big thing that I know JK is stressed too. It's like, when you conquer fear and when you conquer doubt, you conquer failure. And so that was a big thing that, he really spoke about.
I love that. And the phrase that comes to my mind, fear, false evidence appearing real.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Dude, this was awesome. I really, really appreciate your insight, sharing your perspective and experience. Before we wrap up, because if someone comes across this, conversation, if this makes it to the YouTube channel or podcast or whatever, then odds are pretty high that they probably have a history of struggling with an out of control behavior, whether in the past or more likely right now, and just seeking some sort of solace or confirmation that they might be not alone. Yeah, to that potential person. Any last words for them?
Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Time flies. If you ever watched SpongeBob, time is money. Mr. Krabs would always, say, time is money. So it's and it really is true. Like, I know I'm just joking around, but like it really is true, because all we have is time, and the last thing that you want to do is waste your time with this. That's really just like getting you away from reality and putting yourself into like this kind of own negative field that really isn't real. Like, so this is all kind of like getting into this whole loop and this whole cycle that this addiction puts you in. And time really does fly. So if you're going to see this video, whoever this is, or hear this testimonial, take action right now while you can, because especially while you're young, if you're young rather, and take advantage of the time you have. And when you join the group, just commit, take action, and it's going to fly by a lot quicker than you might think if you really initially commit.
Yeah, and I love that you spoke on that, and I'd like to piggyback on it really quick. Yes, especially if you're young, it's like while your brain in many ways is still developing, like make those necessary changes now. But even if you are of a certain age where, you're within air quotes older, I have personally worked with clients in their 50s, 60s, 70s that have changed their behavior. It absolutely is possible with a system, with a community, and with tools, and with people that care, like myself, like Teddy. We've been there. And yeah, for anybody who might be watching or listening, thank you for doing so. And like Teddy said, don't waste time. So with all that said, Teddy, thank you so much again for your
Yes, man.
perspective. And I'll see you around in the group.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out of control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is, if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.